Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Say, do you ever show your kids movies about ancient Greece? They ought to see them. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at 414 BC, the Siege of Syracuse from Worthington. Hello, everybody. We'll get back to the review in just a second. I just want to take a moment to ask you to go ahead and check out and subscribe to my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history and fun things like that. Please check that out. Please subscribe. And now, back to the review. 414, the Siege of Syracuse from Worthington, is a solitaire game, though it can be played with two players, all about the Athenian expedition to Syracuse on Sicily during the Peloponnesian War. Now, essentially what's going to happen is, in the solitaire game, the player is going to get a deck of cards, and they're going to go ahead and separate these. First of all, they're going to separate them into the Syracusan deck and then into the Spartan deck, because the player is going to play those kooky Athenians. Now, the game board is kind of a map of Syracuse and the area around it. It's got space for where the Athenians can build their walls, and the Syracusans can actually attempt to build counter walls. It's also got various spots and formations for the blocks, which represent the Athenian and Syracusan and later Spartan formations. There's also spots for ships, for Athenian ships in the bay. Now, the game board is divided up into different locations. For instance, your ships can be in the kind of damaged space, they can be kind of in the bay, or they can be out in the sea. But you also have either the lowlands or the plateau on the board. And this is important because kind of your orders are going to tie to those different locations. The board also boasts a morale track, which will be important for victory. The very first thing you're going to do on your turn is you're going to select an order you want to take. And these orders have various grids, and we'll kind of tell you what will happen in certain circumstances. But you go ahead and you can select, say, attack the lowlands, or attack the plateau, or defend the lowlands, or defend the plateau. You will have the option to kind of move or repair. You can build walls, and you can move ships. But you select which order you want to go. You place a block there on the order track, and you mark that and you know what you've chosen. Now, if you had previously drawn a leader card, or if you just draw a leader card that turn, you can go ahead and pair that leader card with your specific move or order that turn, and that may enhance your order, that may help your order, give you a better chance of success. If you draw a leader card, you can either play it, or you can keep it in your hand for later play. But usually when you select a card, it won't be a leader, rather it will be the opposition's turn to move. Now, if you did draw a leader card, you still have to select another card to make sure that your enemy moves that turn. Now, the first thing you do is resolve the action card of your enemy. It may cancel your order. It may completely negate it. Then you're also going to resolve any leader effects that you've got on there. And then finally, you can begin to execute your order. When you execute your order, you go ahead, you roll the die, you apply any DRMs that come from leaders or anything else, and then what you're going to do is actually check the matrix that is provided on that order. Depending on what the stance of that enemy card is, because it's got a stance that'll say like defend lowlands, attack lowlands, build counterwall, these sorts of things. You go ahead, you roll the die on the matrix in your order, contrasting it with the order that they gave. You roll the die, and then you go ahead and you see exactly what happens. Do you lose a guy? Does the enemy lose a guy? Do you go up or down in morale? Do you build a wall? Does the enemy build a counter wall? You go ahead then and you execute the order. Now, if you build walls, you kind of have to build them in a certain order. Same thing with your enemy. They're trying to block you from completing the walls. You're trying to complete the walls yourself. So you keep issuing orders, drawing cards, playing leaders, etc., until you reach the end game and either you win or you lose. Now you can win in one of two ways. If you complete all the sections of the wall and you're able to have one of your ships blockading Syracuse, then you win instantly. Also, if you're able to knock the Syracusans' morale all the way down to 0, then you win instantly. You lose the game if the Athenian morale gets all the way to 0, or if you get all the way through the AI deck and you haven't won, then you lose the game. So you're going to go ahead, you're going to try to build those walls, you're going to try to get your ships out of the blockade, and you're going to try to defeat your enemies on land. Now, if you can do these things and meet the victory conditions, then you win! 414 BC, Siege of Syracuse. So 414 BC, Siege of Syracuse. I've actually played this solitaire and two-player. And I gotta tell you, first of all, let me talk a little bit about the two-player experience. There's a little bit of difference. You each have decks of cards. You're still using the matrices from your order sheets, and so it's kind of works the same way in that sense. And it's a pretty interesting. I like that. I like that rolling the die and trying to find on the matrix exactly what's going to happen. I think that's pretty fun, and it's exciting. And every turn you're wondering what's going to happen. What's going to happen? But I found the two-player game overall was just okay. It didn't really thrill me. It wasn't bad. If somebody wanted to play it, I'd play it, but it didn't, like I said, it didn't thrill me. However, I really enjoyed the solitaire game. I thought the solitaire game was a lot of fun. Again, I really like the matrix there. I like how quick this game is. It seems like it's a game that, okay, do this, do this, do this, repeat, do this, do this, do this. And yet, through those basic actions and instructions, you get this really fun narrative, kind of a grand narrative of this battle and how this whole thing played out. And of course, you've got a lot of cards that have some flavor text and have some ideas about it. And I got to point out, I've read a few books on the Peloponnesian War, Thucydides and the conflict, and it's probably my favorite war from the ancient world to learn about. I find the Peloponnesian War endlessly fascinating, and the Syracusan expedition, of course, is kind of that moment where things fall apart. I've heard it described as an Athenian Stalingrad. It's really, really fun history, and it's kind of fun to relive it in this game. I didn't live it in the first place. I wasn't there. But I really enjoyed it. I thought this game really captures the flavor of the history, and I mean, obviously it's heavily abstracted, but you still get a sense of it. And at the same time, it's just a fun game. It's kind of nerve-wracking. Okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You're praying for those dice rolls to go in your way. You're also hoping when you draw a card, it's if you got like attack lowlands, you don't want the card you draw to be to defend lowlands, right? And so it's so much fun to kind of try to anticipate what the card's going to be, what the die roll's going to be. And it sucks you in. This game absolutely sucked me in. I've got some of the other Siege games. I haven't played them yet. I'm going to get on those and hopefully get reviews of some of these Worthington Siege games up pretty soon. But I really, really enjoyed this one quite a bit. So recommendation for the discriminating gamer for 414 BC Siege of Syracuse is buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd also ask you to please check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history and fun things like that. Please check it out. Please subscribe. And I'd also ask you to please give a thumb to this video on Board Game Geek. That helps us out a lot as well. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, one day in ancient Athens, a man walked into a tailor, and he said, "Eumenides?" And the tailor replied to him, "Euripides?"
Please somebody help me on my feet again. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Yeah, so if you're somebody that